For your fourth technique here, we are going to do what's called a duotone. And duo means two, so we're going to do this with two colors. You could also do a tritone, which is three colors, or a quad tone, which is four colors. It's going to be up to you. I think the easiest thing to do for this part of the assignment is probably stick to a duotone or a tritone, two or three colors. Now, what I'm going to do is, this is a technique that's going to require that I actually change the mode of the photo. So even though I always say you never want to do anything to your photo that you can't undo, this is going to be the exception to the rule, because once I change this, I can't change it back, and I'll show you what I mean. Currently, I'm in the RGB color space here with this image, and I want to turn it into a duotone or tritone. And the way you do that is in the image drop-down menu to mode. This is where we've been going to change things into CMYK. You'll see duotone here, but it's grayed out. It's not letting me select it. And that's because, and don't ask me why, but this is how it's always been in Photoshop. Before I turn it into a duotone, I have to first turn it into a black and white image. And black and white is grayscale. So lost it here. So first we have to turn this into a black and white image, and it's going to tell me here I'm discarding all the colors. So there you can see the image in black and white. Now when I go back to that image drop down menu to mode, now you can see it's giving me the option to do a duotone. Now it says duotone, but the tritone and the quadtone are all under here as well. So if I go ahead and select that, now what's coming up is the colors that I used on a previous job here, and maybe that's not really what I want on here. So here's where you can select duotone. You can see it's two colors. Quad tone would be four colors. Now it's adding in two or three, the third and the fourth ink in here, or color in here. Let's go back to the duotone here. So I've currently got it, like I said, these are settings from a previous job I worked on. You can go in here and change the colors by just clicking on the color, and it's going to bring up the Photoshop color picker. And so maybe instead of red and orange, what I'm going to go is do something in the blue range here. And as I pull it over, you can see what's happening. Now you're seeing an effect where the red has changed. The red was here. I'm changing it to blue. You can see the effect that's happening with the orange. All right, probably not the effect I want in here. So now I'm going to select the orange, and let's choose maybe a green. So that's kind of a bright, vibrant color. You can see what happens if I go darker with it, or if I pick anywhere around here. This is really entirely up to you. You guys don't have to use the same colors that I'm using. That's kind of pretty cool right now. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Just so you don't confuse yourself, you might want to go in here once you've used this a few times. And we'll call this green. Now, I'll warn you something about this as well. Let's say I go to tritone here. It's going to put a white in here. I just want to show you what this looks like. Let's say I choose a yellow in here. It will not let me save this unless I put a name in here. So just remember that. So if you go to save it, just remember if you've left any of these name slots open, it's not going to let you do it. I'm going to go back to the duotone. I prefer that. Go ahead and hit OK. Now, what you want to do is, this is now, it's not a color image. You can see up here it's a duotone image. What I'm going to do is, before I take this into my format, I'm going to switch it back into a RGB image. And the reason I'm doing that is, once I take it into my format, I want to be able to do some additional things to it, and it wouldn't allow me to do it in the duotone format here. So once you have this, now if you want to, you can save this, but we're actually going to save this in your layered working file. So go ahead and create that 6x9 canvas that we're going to use. So again, 6 inches wide, 9 inches high. Always make sure you're working in 300 dpi. And now I'm going to go back to my duotone image here. I'm going to tear it off. And the reason I did that is it's going to allow me to then just drag this into my format here. So now I've got my runner in here. And again, here's a very important thing. This is a weird psychological thing. Let me show you this. When you're working with images of the human body, what you want to be careful of is that you don't crop the limbs right at a joint, all right? So with my runner here, I don't want to crop him right at the wrists. I don't want to crop him right at the knee. It freaks people out if you do that. What you need to do when you're cropping images is either go a little inside so we can see you didn't cut his arms off, or you can go a little bit further so you're not in the joint. So here I'm between the elbow and the wrist, and it just prevents people from freaking out a little bit when they see that. So again, place this however you want. You can go smaller or larger with it, but again, make sure you're not cropping him at his joints here. In fact, I'll probably lower it a little. I was getting a little close to his ankle here. And I'll go ahead and say, okay, I'm happy with the placement there. Now, if you want to, you can put a color background on here. We're going to have to mask him off if you do that. So what I'm going to do is let's put a color in the background just so we can see it. So I'm going to just choose a green, maybe not this acid green. Well, I don't know. Let's assume this is packaging for a sports drink. Maybe you want to go bright green. Something to keep in mind when you're choosing colors here, and this happened when I did the beauty shot when I chose that lavender. When you choose some of these really vibrant colors, they look great on your screen, and when you go to print it out, they're going to look a lot duller than you anticipated. All the Adobe software has this little warning built in on the color picker. When you choose a color that isn't going to print accurately, this little warning will pop up, and you can see here's the color I selected. It looks really vibrant. Photoshop is warning me this is actually how it's going to print, which is much duller, almost more like an army green in here. So if you don't like that, you can move your color picker around and find a point where that warning goes off. All right, so now the warning's disappeared. So as I move up here in the more vibrant areas, you can see that warning comes on. And so I'll find something here. I'm not really happy with that, so maybe I'll go somewhere more in the yellows here just to see what that looks like. And again, that warning keeps coming up. So let's go pure yellow, because I know that's something that can be printed. Even that's a little tough. All right, so let's go right in there. And now what I'm going to do is fill that background in. Under the image drop-down menu, you can do fill. Again, my yellow's on top. That's the foreground color. All right, and you can see all I got was a little band up here at the top. That's because we still have that white background on here. Now what we can do is we can mask them out. Ideally, you should probably use the pen tool, but I want to show you one other way that you can create a mask in here. And that's, I'm going to use one of the selection tools called the magic wand up here. And the magic wand, when you work with it, you also work with what's called the tolerance up here. What the magic wand does, if I click on the white background, it is going to click every white pixel that adjoins it until it hits a pixel that isn't white. And what the tolerance is kind of the wiggle room. So maybe it hits a pixel that's only slightly off from being white, it will still select it. If I set this at 0, it will only select white pixels, as you can see in here. If I set this selection high, let's say 50, and I select this over here, if I zoom in here, you can see it's also picking up a lot of the stuff inside his shirt here. So what I'm going to do is set the tolerance low at 0. And I'm going to select this area on the back. Now I want to select all the white areas here. Whenever you want to select more than one thing, hold that shift key down. So I'm going to hold the shift key down, select that. Then I'm going to select this. And now I'm going to select this. And once I've done that, what I can do is on my runner layer here, come down here, and you want to click on Add Layer Mask. It's the third icon in here. And what you can see is a couple things here. A, it's backwards. It masked out my guy when not the background. But also you can see just how rough that selection is with the magic wand. So let's go backwards. I'm going to hit Command Z here. I'm going to go ahead and deselect my selection here. Turns out I probably need a little bit of tolerance in here. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 10. And I'm going to just have to clean up this mask. So I'm going to click here, hold that Shift key down, click here, hold the Shift key down, click here, and then also get back here. And now I'm going to go ahead and do this again. You can see it's a little bit better, but not great. So let's hit Command Z again. Remember what I did on the first two. We're going to feather the edge of this a little bit. So what I'm going to do is come up here under Selection, come down here to Modify. We're going to feather this 1 point or 1 pixel. Now let's do the same thing. Let's add the layer mask. All right. And as you can see, the layer mask is backwards. That's because what I selected, it went ahead and masked out the guy instead of the background. That's very easy to fix. Just make sure you select the mask. Come up here under Image, Adjustments, and we can flip it. Everything that's black will be white. Everything white will be black. So if we flip it that way, now if we go back to our guy, you can see it's masked it out. Now what you're going to want to do is go around here and check the mask. You're probably going to have to clean it up a little bit. It's very easy to do, like with the hair here. If I select my brush, and right now my brush is huge, I can come up here and make it small, but that's kind of a pain to constantly be going back and forth up here. Let me show you a really great keyboard shortcut, and that's when you have your brush selected. And if you have your cap lock on, you're going to see a target. So make sure that cap lock is off. If you look at your keyboard and hit the bracket keys, the front bracket will make this brush size go small. The back bracket will enlarge it. It's a really fast way to adjust your brush size. And then make sure you're on this mask layer. Make sure you're going to paint with black because we want to take out some of this. Let's see, I'm not at 100% here. So what you can do is go around and clean up your mask with the brush as you go around here. So you might want to clean some of these up here. For time's sake, I'm not going to go ahead and clean everything up, but what I'm doing is quickly, actually it turned out pretty good. All right, so once you're done with this and you're happy with it, again, you're going to do that where you save 2 files. We're going to save that working file in the RGB color space. Save as. Come down here and find my Photoshop. Let's see. Where did I put it? I got my TIFFs. Let's see. Recent places. Photoshop assets. There it is. Here's my PSD Photoshop file. We're going to call this, if you want to, you can call this Duotone or Tritone. You save this layered file in the RGB format, all right, and your PSD folder. Go ahead and hit save. Now again, we're going to make that file that you're going to put in your document. So the 3 steps again, flatten it, change it into CMYK. Now you may see these colors shift. Let's take a look at it. You'll get the warning, okay. It probably doesn't show in the video, but my background color did shift a little bit, but it's manageable. And now I'm going to go ahead and save this as a TIFF in my TIFF folder. So let's find that TIFFs folder. All right, change that format to TIFF, and then go ahead and hit save. And you're done with the Duotone.